all these terrible things started happening after I met Alex Asico, who lived on my husband's street, and Sarah Dyer. And all of these attacks and torture. And President Bush did actually come and walk right by me when I was at the paddock area of Churchill Downs before he got elected. He was running. And I know it all began also when this group came up to me the first month I was ever on the computer in the 90s. I was at the John Saw Red Hen Diner at Random House Publishing site. I saw the address on the back of a book and got internet. And I never had the internet before. It's the only place I went for a year or two there in the publishing site, Simon & Schuster, a year after Saw site, Stephen King site, because I was a writer and I wrote every day. The Dark Knight appeared, and then this sick group, this Illuminati group. But here's an old video someone brought up today that's important that you should hear about how they're murdering people in hospitals here.
2023, Sherry. This is October 28th, 2023, Sherry. I'll give you my full name. St. Clair McDowell Bretz. This is a very important video. Last night, the thing was attacking my heart and attacking my brain. They're so out to kill me and my husband, to try to make Panusu rule this territory, which is filmed in my home and starting to be filmed all over the world. It's above the middle school next door, When the day I went and saw it above the school, and I told people it's right above that school, looking down, the same thing, just looking down at the building and the children. The next day, to show me this, the state controls this. They put wolf signs out, wolf signs where people park that weren't there the day before, just to show me. They monitor everything. And
the State Department here isn't trying to buy my land. They're trying to kill me and steal it.
And I know what it can do. It's down there sometime in the district on the road where the Muhammad Ali Museum is, right in that abandoned lot and the museum. It's on my property. I think there's several entities. I know for a fact there's several entities
because Bretz, Sarah Dyer, Justin Bretz, Chris Bretz, Sasha Bretz. They're all linked to the dark side.
Then I film
who's trying to steal my property.
I've shown you in pictures they sent. It's all being sent by the dark side to do dark things. When they wanted to murder my parents, my father, they attacked him, and then they show me Tava's picture and in front of a president's limo, and said my husband, I should have given my land to Justin Bretz and Sarah Dyer, and they said, I'm going to kill your dad. And right at that instant, he was going to go home the next day. She shouldn't have been at the hospital. A visiting nurse said his pupils looked dilated, so she said he needed to go to the hospital. My dad said, I'm fine, innocently sweet, just taking care of his cats. All he would do is take care of his cats. She goes, you're going to the hospital. He goes to the hospital. He wants to go home to his cats. They put him on a machine at Brooks and say, oh, you're having a heart attack. My dad said, I've had heart attacks before, and I know they were caused by this group. And he said, and I don't have any chest pains. I don't have any symptoms. I don't have any back pain. I feel perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with my heart. Well, they sent him to Audubon, but they wouldn't let me go. They said corona. So I ran home to get his prescription bin. He had like an old ice cream tub. Ice cream's his favorite thing. He had all his prescription bottles. His house was on the way home. I immediately drove, and this is a half-hour drive if you go straight from Brooks to there. So I ran home. I got this bucket. By the time I got to the hospital, they said, we didn't take him through the emergency room. We took him straight into the cath lab. Now, that was strange. Well, his doctor came out furious. His cardiologist, who had did his cath 2 years before, he said, why did they put this man through this? Why did they tell me he was having a heart attack? His heart's better today, and it's been in 2 years. Even our machines and all the tests we did before we took him for this procedure they insist he have were perfect. Well, he said, I'm going to put him in the monitoring lab where we put everybody after this procedure. He'll go home in the morning. They would not let the staff leave. The ladies down there, 2 hours went by, past their time to close. They said, the doctor overseeing the hospital said, Jerry McDowell has to be put in this one room only, the room he was in last time. He cannot go where his doctor sends everybody else, this room only. They thought it was strange. I was scared because I knew they were going to murder him. My dad waited in pain. He came out with more pain he's ever had from procedures. Groin was hurting. We put him in the room. In the night, this male nurse from another ward, they said, shouldn't have been on that ward. He looked military, he said, "We shaved some of your dad a shot." I said, "He's already had all this medicine." The nurses told me, "I know what kind of medicine he gets. He is not due a shot. And if you give him anything else with him having diabetes, you might murder him. He can't have any more drugs in the system." He fought with me. And I still refused. My dad knew he was trying to, something was up. So he said, "Get me out of this place, Sherry. Get me out of here." Then he went and got the head nurse, and she said, "If you do not let us give him the shot, we're going to call security. We're going to have you thrown out of here. You cannot be here for your dad." And I knew if I left, they would kill him. They gave him the shot. It about wiped out his heart. He started having tachycardia. They had to bring in machines. They had to bring in nurses from other wards. They had to fight to try to save my dad's life. It took him a while to stabilize his heart. So they said, because
a military nurse from another floor with a shaved head
Next
that
day,
wasn't supposed to be on that floor.
My dad, they already paralyzed him. I go down to the cafeteria to get something, and I know I'm always afraid something's going to happen. I said, "Dad, I'm going to go down to get something to eat. I'll be back in like half hour, 45 minutes, okay? And you rest." I come back, he's on the floor naked. I said, "Why in the hell is my dad on the floor? I told you he can't walk." They said, "Well, we sat him in a chair. We didn't know he couldn't walk." Well, then, okay, of course, now he can't come home.
The person running this town is behind all this.
I swear to God, I go down, I leave the hot room again, and they said, "Well, rehab's got to come and try to help him." I said, "He doesn't need rehab. 2 times I found
him in the floor naked, no supervision, and he's paralyzed.
He's got visiting nurses. He doesn't need rehab.
Without assistance or a wheelchair."
So rehab is supposed to be with him. I go down again, I come back up, he's in the floor again. He's on the floor a second time, and
but to degrade him, they took his clothes off.
So then I start complaining that I need to get him out of here. He's going to be dead if I don't get him out of here. I call somebody because they won't let him get me out of here. And the attorney takes down all the information over the phone. I said, "All I want you to do, I'm not trying to sue anybody, is I'll pay you, take action. Get him out of here before he's dead. Do it immediately. Do whatever legal thing you do. Contact the hospital. Get him out of here." My dad said, "Sure, I'm going to be dead." So they hear me on the phone with the attorney, the nurse does. She has private security come and force me out of the hospital. And I go back again. After all that's over, they said, probation for 24 hours. You can come back in 24 hours. I come back in 24 hours. I'm in the room with him. The heat has never worked. He has frozen. And one doctor came in and I said, a specialist, I said, "Can you believe that nurse gave him that shot, even though I was against it?" And then I said, and they said all the hospital equipment in that room started going bad. And I said, and I remember when my dad started where he couldn't breathe. And I said to this nurse, "You did this. You did this to him." He goes, "Maybe the devil did it." That's what I said to that doctor when the machines too were going bad and nothing was blinking. They wouldn't work right. And he said, "Can you believe that man said maybe the devil did it," with a smile on his face? And they're trying to get my dad's heart rate back and save him. And he said, "Well, maybe he did. And this is a specialist over the hospital." I said, "I can't believe you said that to me. I can't believe you just told me that." And he said, "Well, I hear stuff all the time on this floor. It's only this floor, faulty machines all day long. This room always stays cold. Engineer comes in and they fix it, and the room had LA on it, like Los Angeles."
I'm going to stop this for a second. Now, I've been stalked by cars with Los Angeles. I have tried to get out of this town for all these years, knowing I've been tortured here, enslaved, and the horrible dark secret is Satan runs the town with the people high up in government. They hate me. The person running this town absolutely hates me. He's trying to get me to marry the devil, dance with the devil, and I am Christian. And so they tried to kill me at the airport yesterday. And it's like, see, when Clooney started stealing my stuff, and it's proof, instead of saying, "Thank you," they came to me and said, "Your dad's never going to make it out to surgery if you don't go with this man." After I'd been on the way to Kitty Hawk, my husband wanted to go to Kitty Hawk Sierra place. He likes to fly, he's a pilot. On the way there, we stopped in Virginia so I could call the FBI and try to take them solid hard drive evidence that Clooney and Soderbergh and people I had pitched my work to, Andy Cohen, saw were stealing my work. As soon as I called the FBI, they broke my dad's spine in Kentucky. They sent him to the hospital. I got to the hospital. This man with a fake uniform, the hospital said was not their worker. They went in and said, if you don't come with me, your dad's not going to make it out of surgery. He said, come across the street. I will supply the operating room. He tried to drag me to the parking garage. He groped me. He told me he was sent there to find me. They attacked my dad. They gave him a stroke after they broke his back. Later, they went back and murdered him. When he was at the second hospital, they had big balls on the playground sacrificing other patients to this thing that I call the devil. They call Panusu, and they call it like a killer alien clown. They send this thing as one of their Star Wars weapons, whoever they want to attack. And right now, they're trying to get my land to control the universe through the power that's here. I've said, if you want to make an offer, I'll consider it. They don't. They want me to bleed into the land, me and my husband, and to kill us here. And not only that, they've killed 5 relatives. They won't let me go out of the country to try to escape with my husband. They want to torture us in the worst way imaginable. When I was overseas before, they had people attack us there also in the Caribbean. I'm still trying to escape, but last night was pretty touch and go with these weapons and what they're doing to my heart today. I've exposed what they're doing in the hospitals. They've already got their butterfly pictures and their trees. And I was stalked by a butterfly vehicle, a Batman plate, and a Star Wars plate at the hospital. They murdered my dad, and they said you cannot be with him. After they tortured him and he lingered for 4 days, I still could have spoke to him. They said no, to punish you for not keeping your big mouth shut. And they're not going to let me see him. And after that, they also sent Bob's offspring, who they got to join their club, and gave them jobs to go to my dad's house and leave their items. They left FBI shirts. They had a shirt that said Washington White House interrogation room. They had coins worth $1,000 with the Queen's head and a snake in a pirate chest. And they left they left a Predator movie. If you think that America's going to be made great again, if you see all the people that were murdered the past few years since the last few presidencies, you will see they're being sacrificed, and American flags are being placed at those places. And they're telling me they won't not only just let me escape, they say they're going to put me into something else to torture me through science, like a flower or a butterfly. And they said that they know how to use science now. And they also said that they're going to keep me from going to heaven and steal everything here.
So my dad has been through so much you cannot imagine. Well, they come in, the doctor says, guess what? Because of all this event and everything, and that shot that nurse gave him, it's damaged his kidneys. That shot was too strong. We're going to have to keep him here and get his kidneys a little better. Well, as he's in the night, they sent this beast, this horrible thing. I filmed it. It had tentacles. It had everything. But it was a day before or a few days before. I can't remember if it was a day before or a few days before. They sent me this little Star Wars looking card. It looked like a bat. And it said, execution, vanish, a threat. And as I'm sitting there, I had to call the police on the way to the hospital one day when I went to see him. This car was chasing me. It was a truck. It was a white truck, and it had bars on the back like for chains. It chased me through parking lots. It chased me all over the place. I usually just run from it and get to my destination. This one was a predator. It was not get off my butt no matter where I ran. For like half hour I ran from this thing, but I wanted to get to the hospital. My daddy needed me. So by the time I had ran from it, I finally, when it was going through bank parking lots, just to let me know for sure it was never going to leave, through, ins and outs of different businesses, not just main highway. I called and I said, I'm running from this guy and he's aggressive. And they said, stay where you are, tell us where you are, and don't leave. Go to like a public place where you've got people around you, and park, and we'll meet you there. Tell us where you are. The police will be there immediately. I said, I cannot take that long. My dad needs me now. So I drove real quick up to Sam's parking lot, where the gas pumps are, where you got people going. This car comes up and parks beside me. I've never seen a vehicle like this. Guy's wearing a Star Wars cap, and he's got a big red phoenix painted on the side of his vehicle. I call my friend Thomas Martin out in Los Angeles. I say, this is the plate of this vehicle that's chasing me. And the police wanted me to wait there. I said, I'm just staying here, and then I want you to take all the information. I'm staying here for just a few minutes so I can make phone calls, but I'm going directly to the hospital. And you're just going to have to remember if something happens to me, this is the guy's plate. Then I get to the hospital. And then late in the night, this person contacts my phone and says, and they bring up a picture of the truck I photographed. And said, Country Boy Can't Survive, as if they're the white truck. Those are the one doing it. And they said, you should have given your land to your stepson, Justin, and Sarah Dyer. He goes, I'm going to murder your father right now. Would you imagine somebody have that weaponry? My dad's brain was beautiful. He's so smart. At that instant, they gave him a stroke that blew out part of his brain. And then they made me leave him. They wouldn't let me be with them after that. Security hauled me out. It was all covered up. And I prayed and prayed and prayed. And security said, you can never come back to this hospital again. And I called administration. I called everybody. I never did anything wrong. I told them, I said, I never did anything. I didn't do anything wrong. They said I should have kept my big mouth shut. And then they had my dad imagine he was going back to his favorite place, his garage, to work on his race car. They crippled him. My dad had worked at Philip Morris, and he wanted to live his dream forever. And his dream, after he worked and slaved and took care of everybody else, took care of everybody's stray cats. My mom had 35 before she died. And instead of finding them homes, which he wanted, he fell in love with them all. He promised her, I'll keep them. I'll watch over them after you're gone. And my dad, he had plenty of things to do. He had an active lifestyle. But he took the disabled American blinders everywhere. He always had to help things. He's so generous. And so this group, because my dad was a hero, he got a letter from the president for heroism. He never wounded anybody. He was a medvac, chief medvac, that called body parts across the field. People that couldn't hang on, he saved everyone. And right after he retired, he just finished his race car. Just a few months after retirement, and all he wanted to do was run races and build his own race car. He put everything he had in it after retirement, other than the house, to live his dream. Right before his race, they crippled him because I went to the FBI and had hard drive evidence of people that were hacking, people that were stealing, trying to destroy Christians. And after that, they never stopped hurting him, merely because I felt in a Christian's heart. These people were all over my computer, and they loved to threaten me. And I just felt in my heart that I was under attack. And I did that. And then after they did that, it just got worse. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg. It's nothing compared to what else happened. I found out after that Alex Asico had my mother murdered. He's Jenna Bush's bodyguard. I never spoke to the man. When I met my husband, he was in a war with his ex-wife. They were fighting, and he wasn't fighting. She was always wanting more, and she'd abandoned all but 2 kids. One she sent to military school because she wanted to make soldiers. The other one she took with her as a baby because Bob said she liked attention, and the new guy she married liked babies, and he said babies get you attention. She took her, and his ex-wife turned up wherever I went, at the pool with the kids, no matter where. I had no idea they were watching us then. And every week she'd say, can Justin come and play? I was in that house a little over a year, and I always said, sure, anytime. Never had a problem. One because I knew that she was his ex-wife's best friend. I thought if she trusts her, I trust her with the kids. I was just naive and trusting. But they said then they thought I was an angel. So they saw my mom. I don't know how they did. My mom never spoke to them, but somehow they did. This agent started checking up on us. I guess her lawyer that was ruthless, that had handled the divorce, were handling a new court battle they were fighting. But somehow they found out who my mom was. She's a pure angel. And she was in perfect health, loving, but she got something in a can one day. She was working to make extra money for Christmas.
Happened was
somebody brought her something, and it was a Pepsi, but it was already open.
Took an interest in
and
my
she drank it, and all of a sudden she started foaming at the mouth, and something lodged in her throat. Then it lodged
and he went
down in her
into
chest.
his publishing site.
Well, she knew
and
it was
asked
something
me to
horrible.
give him details
Well,
about my
not
land.
very long after that,
And
that she started
and I didn't know
having
he had
problems.
been
My
he
stepson comes
had
to
been
town and
interested in it for all these
to our
years.
house at all.
He
And
did
went to
a
stay
book
for 2
called
days.
Black Creek Crossing,
And
based on my property. And in the
my
story,
mother calls me from
my
the
parents'
doctor's
names are in
office.
it,
She said the
their
doctor's put me in the
animals,
hospital.
and
He
their
sees
house
something
address,
strange in
122.
my lung.
And then
I
they
wanna
murdered my
go
parents
have
to
it
match his
tested, and
book.
he's sending me
And
to
he
Norton's.
plotted 30 years with this kill club.
And then that's when my
And
life
they murdered
ended.
him.
I
and now
wasn't
they're
30 yet.
and then
That's
his
when my
new
world
story
ended. And
he
then
wrote
later
and put
they
his
said,
page.
she's got lung cancer.
He said,
And my mother
Justin
kept
will come
swearing it was
in and
whatever she
take our
swallowed because she'd
home
had an
after
X-ray
we're
the year before
dead,
and her
like
lungs
kill
were
us.
fine.
So we'll be dead.
When they opened
He
her
said
up, they
there's
said, well, the
artificial
doctor was so
intelligence
cruel.
on our
I
land.
didn't
I didn't
expect cancer.
know.
Not only does she
But
that night, he goes, well, your
at his
mama won't
page,
make it
he's
through
writing
summer.
under a
I said,
name like
what?
Justin.
Her lungs are covered with something, and she
in
won't.
Europe,
She won't
and
last
he's using
3
the
months.
last
I'm
name
like,
Brett instead of Brett.
I'm hearing
it's
this all the
Brett.
same night.
And they said
I just know
Justin
it was
and
foul
all
play.
Bob's son said, Sherry, this is going to be a gay world now. And
can do that.
apparently he is so notorious being a gay horror writer. He didn't just rob me blind. He latched on to my stepsons and my stepkids to try to turn them against me while I was being tortured and robbed, hidden cameras put here, violated in the worst way by him and I guess Alex Asico, who works for the Bush administration. Later it had a trickle-down effect. They sent me pictures of I did not look these pictures up. I guess the feds, somebody
to her and
on my
took her body
computer,
over, and she was saying the angels are with me, and she was
sent me
giggling
a
and laughing
picture
and
of
floating
Tom
on
Brett's
a
in front
cloud.
of President Obama's
I'd never seen her so
his
happy.
vehicle.
And I
And
thought, oh my God, he's taken her now.
it
And I was
goes all the way
praying,
down
no,
all these years.
No.
It's like a
And then I
hunt
go in
club.
there,
And for the devil.
She knows things nobody else knows.
And they're trying to kill
And
me.
when I opened
to
something in the other
sacrifice
room, she
the
told
devil.
me, oh, your husband got you a leather coat. It's in a red box. Bob said he never told her that. He'd wrapped it at our house. She'd never seen it. I never told her. I just went in there. She kept saying, watch that video. Animals are beautiful people, or animals are people too. She kept telling me I had to leave the room. She had to have these private moments with what was talking to her. So I go back in there, and she doesn't. Her eyes look like they've changed.
My
not the same
husband's
expression.
or these dark government
And this thing
people
is
are
talking through
Illuminati.
her and
I have been
making us
kind
think it's God.
and cooperative
And
until
it's
I
telling
found
us
out
about
that they worship
mysteries
the
and
devil.
telling us
And when they
about
tried
what's
to
gonna
insist that I
happen.
join them after
And,
years of abuse,
And my mother is
God said no.
filled with glee.
I listened to God.
But it doesn't
And
seem like
so now
my
they want
mother.
to kill me and my husband. They
I'm
haven't
scared
offered
to
to
death
buy the land, but they keep
that what's
sending me
talking
Tom
through, I
Hanks
think, is
messages
God.
saying, dance with me.
I'm scared at
They've
one
done
time
Disney art of
it
me,
might be something
being
else that's taking my
disemboweled,
mother over
blind
that
in
is
one eye
not
before destroying my
God.
vision. They've
So when
done
she wanted
all
to put her
kinds of
hands on me and
animation,
rub my
and
face,
they
she
said
started,
blame
like, bending
Sarah
my neck.
Dyer.
My mother's never
trying
done
to take
this,
my
like,
virtue
really
for all
hard.
those
I'm
years
like,
with cameras.
and I'm just thinking, okay, if she's kind of
secretly
just found
having
out
me
she's got
film
cancer,
nude in
nobody
my
ever
home
let her come
without
to
my
deal with it.
awareness.
I bombarded her.
Murdering
Eventually hovering over, and all
animals,
she asked for
murdering
just
my
give me
family.
peace to cope with this, to understand what my diagnosis
Never-ending
is.
horror.
And she wasn't given that space. I thought, okay, maybe she's having, maybe that's why she's doing this. But it's like that thing saw something, or whatever. I won't say that thing.
They
but
told
it was
me
trying
that
to get me
John
to wake
Salka
up
and
to
my
say,
mom
Sherry,
killed, and I
you've got
have
to believe
evidence
more.
that
If you don't
I was
believe,
getting
you cannot,
cards and letters from people that worked
to where
with
you
him
need to go.
that all
And she was
sent me
doing this to my
deer
neck.
antler
And
stickers
she never
on,
done that. I'm like,
on the
Mom,
cards they sent
Mom,
me.
you know, I just, for a moment,
They
my
were
life,
stringing
time of my
me
life, I ever got a little
along for
worried.
story
And
material.
I got away. And she
And
said,
later,
"You have to
Clooney and Soderbergh
believe."
kept producing
She
my
didn't
stuff.
think
And
to
so
go
I
to,
went
I guess,
to
heaven. I had to learn to
I went
believe
to with
more.
Steve
That was
Farber,
my only hang
UCLA,
up.
when I was
needed
taking
more faith,
screenwriting courses
belief.
to the
And then
Maui, to
whatever
the
it was
film
left.
festival.
So we
They
all went in
had
the
Dan
kitchen. I
Ireland,
was
who worked
scared
with
to death. I
Soderbergh,
never seen
come
nothing
and
like
talk
it. I
to
thought,
me
oh my
at the
God, this
table
is hell.
when I was
This is
sitting
hell.
with Steve Farber.
Something has turned my world
Tell
to
me
hell.
he liked
She's
my
whole
dress,
world.
and then asked Steve
I go in
Farber
there
if he could
and
have lunch with
her
us.
window's open. Something has
See
come
how,
in the window.
because they did not want me to
gone
break
out the
free.
window. And it's
When I
ice cold. It's
decided to
December,
do
right before
go with
Christmas.
UCLA
I tried to
to this
shut her
film
window.
festival,
She
and
won't
no
let me.
longer I went to
She's
writers'
waiting
conferences.
for it to come
They
back.
didn't want me to have any friends. They
And
did
then
not
I'm
want me to
thinking, oh, it's
network.
like Peter
They
Pan or
wanted to
something.
keep me
And
beat
she
down,
was crying, come
degraded,
back. But
tortured.
because I prayed so
Because they
hard to
said I
keep
was
her,
Christian,
God was going to take her.
and
It was
because
my
I was close
selfishness.
to God,
She even saw heaven.
and because
She would say it's the most
I
beautiful
was
place she'd ever seen. But
innocence
because of
and
my
beauty, they said
selfishness
they
and
wanted to destroy.
my
And they
insecurity,
tried
I
to
begged to hold her
invade me
here.
with the
And
beast.
that was probably what hurt her. And maybe destroyed her. But that night, after that happened, something started talking through her. Like she was having a nervous breakdown, but it didn't seem like just a nervous breakdown. It like something had came and was trying to take her over, trying to. And I didn't want to part with my mom, but when she locked the door and wouldn't let us in there, I just was afraid. I knew there was a gun in the closet. She never would have probably used it or thought it was there. It was just if somebody broke in. My mom and dad used to have one gun because they used to like to go with my grandpa out in the country, and they do shoot, targets just for the fun of it, just like country people do, because he was a country man. My grandpa never left without a cowboy hat and Western boots. So I just had this sick thought in my head. If she wants to go with that thing, what if she gets the gun? My mother's never been suicidal, but this is something that's never happened. So I said, we've got to do something. We got to take her. I don't want to take my mom anywhere, but I don't want her to harm herself. And I'm scared in the state of mind she is now that I don't know. I just want my mom back. And we took her to Norton's and said, we're fearful of her. Please evaluate her. They said, okay, we'll put her in the psych ward. She's never had any psychiatric problems. We'll put her there.
This is
we put her in
when
the psych
she
ward.
first
The next day, it was like nothing ever happened.
diagnosed
She was
with cancer.
perfectly fine. She said, Sherry, why did y'all do this to me? I just found out I had cancer, and it was bad enough. And now you've locked me here, and I may never get out. Why did y'all do this to me? But she was very understanding. She thought, well, maybe my dad put me up to it. She didn't think I'd ever call anybody. We all kind of got together as a family, and we wanted what was best for her. And instantly that day, I called my attorney, Rich Shelton. I said, what can you do to get her out of here? She's too sweet. She just needs compassion and family love. And they said it was because everybody smothered her after she got the diagnosis. She never could even come to grips with what she had. And she didn't have the time. And she just wanted her space. They said all she needed was a few days space. And she was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong. She just needed to adjust to the news she had received.
The week she got cancer.
And so my mom went back home. She was brave. She never shed a tear at all through all the chemo. She had chemo. I was going to say, she'd have chemo a few times. After the visit on Christmas Day,
by the angels,
the cancer was gone. It was gone after that one
she
visit
had a
on Christmas
miraculous
Day.
Healing.
And I don't remember.
They only gave her 3 months to live, and she lived for almost
she went back
over
to
6
have the
years.
X-ray, and they said whatever had happened on that day without the chemo, it was erased. It was gone. And so, but the doctor still wanted her to go through the chemo, and she did. And they said originally 3 months to live, and she was fine. No, nothing returned for 5.5 years until I went to a conference. Then after that, her neighbor started poisoning all her flowers. Because see, what part of her healing was she loved to replenish the earth, and she started rescuing all these animals.
They sent the Kill Club after her.
And they were destroying all her flowers. Then they started killing her trees she planted. And then they started attacking her with untraceable weapons, her neck, her arm. Then they decided to put the school bus route right in her yard, right there in the yard of Shadowlawn and is it Butterfly, Shadowlawn, and Stone Post Road. The next street's Butterfly. She had along the Stone Post Road where they put the school bus to pick kids up. And it would wake her up every morning. And she had sleeping problems anyway, so she wasn't able to sleep. I didn't learn until years later, Alex Asico had originally put her on the kill list. He had put her on the kill list, and he and John Saul, they said, had her murdered because she was an angel. They said Jack Canfield was a part of it. It was the group that invited me to the writers' conference and I used to go to the publishing site Random House, and John Saul was there, and this person came in the first month named Dark Knight. Well, Dark Knight, they said, was on my parents' street.
They had her
So it was
billed
all
on a street and named next to Butterfly.
premeditated murder.
And all the people there, they put them on a server
Later, they
called
started
Bat.
making that whole area where my
The
dad
Bat
lived
server,
called
and they
the
call
Bat
it the
Cave.
Bat Cave.
And then they started doing experiments here to link to the Bat Tower in Nashville, and it was linking to vampires.
And my mama moved
And the reason I'm
did
saying
not
this is because
knowing they
last night
sent
it
her
was killing
there
me.
to be
It was really
for
killing
this.
me. And they said before I went to bed, they
The
were.
Butterfly is what they say they're turning
across
people
street
into. The
crimes.
street next to
And
hers
that's
was
when it attacked
Butterfly.
me the worst last night. It could knock off water bottles, throw videotapes across the room. When I photographed it before, it was the same thing that was attacking my dad.
And they kept my dad's
it could be
computer
a government
connected to
secret
something
weapon.
called Bat Cave.
But it told me before I went to bed last night that it was here. It was a vampire, and it would say stuff like about the power lines. It would say that song, "Hey, this is Electric Avenue." They were playing that it would tell me in my mind, "Hey, Electric Avenue," the song, which means those new cables, the Wi-Fi, the electricity. He said it has made it where I cannot defend myself from this Antichrist because
They're
it's using
killing
energy to capture
people
souls
for
and trap them here.
offerings here.
And so they're trying to put them in the creek, people across the street and beside me using red. I've seen their bottles there and here. And the nights they try to kill me, and at the front of my property with the red devil on them, as if it's a whole coven conspiracy. And we went to the island, people were attacking us with the weapons. And that one place we went, they were playing that song.
Fireball.
Something, it's a devil song. It's not Bullseye. But they were sending me things from Sarah Dyer and Justin Brest and Tyler Brett saying winner takes all, and Tom in front of Ramos Limousine saying put a ring on it, marry the devil, dance with the devil. And before these attacks, they said you have to dance with the devil. So if my neighbor across the street and next door and all these people in this town are secretly doing this and using the same things, then it's not just them. They're just trying to survive, because they told me after they had experimented on me a few years trying to push this beast in, after they had murdered my mom, then they murdered my dad. They said, let it in. They said, slay or die. If you do not slay with us and be a pirate, you will die. Well, they didn't tell me this after they had destroyed every part of me. They thought that anything was left. Now, when you have your parents murdered and you see other people suffering, are you going to go cause someone else? So I had to because originally I was just fighting for Christ. I was just fighting to make the evil vanish. And then, just a second. It's been attacking me ever since. It's half blinded me. They said my eyes can't be repaired. Even with the strongest lens, things are going to stay blurry. It's torn my spine in 3 places. They have, they've damaged my liver. For like a year or two, my thyroid was underactive. They made me, my bone density dropped -2 the first time they sent Tom and Brett's here to put us on a kill list. Chris wanted to come too, but it just took one person, and she brought her friend Ashley Davison, and they met with somebody in this town that booked talent for the very person I had on my hard drives that I was telling the FBI about. It's just a global conspiracy, but my thing today is I want to let you know that no matter how hard I prayed when I couldn't breathe, I woke up earlier, my husband said, I can't get a pulse. I felt like I was dead, like I wasn't in my body. And he got me to, he helped me and told me to try to walk up the steps to get my pulse elevated. But it was that thing. I went in another bedroom, and it was this thing. It says it's an alien. One night it told me it was in a dream. Vladimir Putin was in the living room in here where the satellite is. And it said Dmitry Medvedev was in the back closet. And I don't know if they were here to protect me or what, but they said we're aliens. And then that night, something had touched me on the couch, and I felt like I had been invaded. with something that was not me. The next day I had to go have a CT done. The doctor had already ordered because this group was giving me stroke symptoms. He thought they were giving me strokes. I was downtown and all of a sudden this witch was trying to get in my mind. I could see this witch. I've never had that happen. And I could like visualize a person trying to be a witch. I wasn't hallucinating. At the same time, this beast was killing me downtown. I felt like it was lifting my head up, taking it out of my body, trying to just take my soul with it. My dad had that happen at the hospital after they gave him that shot. It was trying to take him up, like put him in a comatose state. So I walked around downtown. I tried to get from the hospital just to the parking garage. And for 1 minute, it dazed me out when this witch was taking me over. And I almost walked out in front of a car. It stopped. And that was just in the parking lots. It was coming through parking lots, not on the main road. And it tries to kill me in car accidents when I leave my home. But what it was saying to me last night was, because you have those cables here, those electric cables and wind streams here, he said, you're no match. You cannot save yourself with prayer, because this whole government now is being created around space weapons, satellites, and what they left in my dad's house, the Stargate movie, Abe Lincoln, for the satire when President Obama and Spielberg did a little satire and he was Abe Lincoln, but they called them vampires. They left that in there. They left White House interrogation room in there. They left a cap in there that wasn't dad's, said FBI. And this group is after my family. My family are just good people that love everybody, that never hurt anybody. Heroes like my dad. My mother's, everybody loved her. The kids in the neighborhood, they wanted to be with her more than anybody. When after school, they'd come to her because they said she gave them more love and their parents never gave them. Our house was the smallest in the neighborhood growing up, but our house was the fullest. All the kids playing basketball, playing ping pong because of my parents. And even in the new neighborhood, a guy found in my creek that was there doing some kind of rituals. I didn't know him, but he said, "Oh, my little sister used to stay at your parents' house a lot, and favorite place to hang out." She was just 4 years old. I'd go over there sometimes. She'd be there. Everybody loves an angel. And every time there was something to sell in the neighborhood, all the kids would hit my dad's house first, because he would always spend a lot of money on stuff he didn't need just to support whatever school campaign they were doing. And my dad was a big sweetie. He's a softie. And I remember they killed his sister. They said to try to take him over because he was too strong to try to let this thing take over. They murdered my Aunt Betty, and she lived in Florida. They left a manhole cover off one day on the trail she'd walked for 4 years before he started. They found out that she was close to me, so they left a manhole cover off. She fell in it. Well, she was in bed after that. They did the same thing. My Aunt Barbara said, if you hit someone hard enough with an axe, they'll go down. They said it's my Aunt Barbara. She's a school teacher. Next thing she knows, taught at Western. Professor, high honors. Her kids always excelled. They won state championships, essays for different events. Got to go to Frankfurt to get honors. And whatever student she helped, they always excelled. And a lot of times, like my aunt was at a rest stop getting gas and saw an old student, and first thing he said was, "You're the best teacher I ever had." And she was keeping in touch with a student who later had a son. Now he's going to the top on tennis. And the past several years, she became a grandma to this child. His name is Horace, and his dad's name is Shabazz. And she helped that little boy to develop to excel in everything. He speaks like 4 or 5 languages. It was because of my aunt's love. Well, because she's a good person, they attacked her brain. They took her to the hospital, and her daughter took her truck away. She just paid off, took her house away. And they said she's in early stage of dementia, but nothing. She can't take care of herself. And her daughter said, well, she won't take her medicine. And so they put her in a place. And after she went in this place, it's like a colonial home, but it's kind of a place where people can be monitored to make sure they take their medicine. They took away her transportation. She's a very independent person, wouldn't let her go back and visit her home. Took away all her freedom completely. And then they started hacking her brain. Then they started putting her to sleep. And they would not let her wake up after a long time. I went to visit her at the hospital. When they finally took her off the medicine at the hospital, she was completely normal. She stopped sleeping. She said, Sherry, I said, she's always in a smiling and a sweet mood. And I'd say, is everything okay, Barbara? And she said, yeah, but I just wish the other would leave. And I remember they would put a movie out once about the others. And I said, what do you mean, Barbara? She goes, you know. And I said, but they had told me they were going to do this to her. Now, I am in serious danger, and I cannot get away from this world group that wants this devil to take over and destroy mankind. People are becoming demonic. And no matter how hard I pray here, now they say, well, we trapped your sweet mom and your dad there on your land. They say, go outside. And I go outside after they came in my garage and murdered my little baby. I call my daughter Twinkle Shines of the Galaxy. Twinkle Shines. They said that they put my mother's spirit in her. After they murdered her, they said, now we put her in a rock. And after that happened, anytime I would go outside, some spirit I felt was there. And now I want to leave my home. Oh, God, do I want to leave my home? Do you think I want to die every day and wake up and my blood pressure so low? I don't think I'm going to survive. You think I want to spend night after night getting blinder? They put a camper across the street at that record service 3 days for the last election, and they said on the computer, leave or we're going to wipe out your lungs. Todd Brett's is going to give you a pulmonary embolism. I thought, you're crazy. My lungs are perfect. Clear lungs my whole life. Then they started giving me lung problems. And then they said, we're going to make you blind. They put my face in the pavilion at not Cherokee Park. Yeah, Cherokee Park. My face is like a sacrifice. And then they started putting victims, and they started putting victims' faces around Penn Fountain. They were already murdered in Kentucky, and they started cutting out the trees. And then they put a blind Mickey, and then they damaged my eye. I went to the doctor. I used to go once every 2 years. I started having to go every year. Then I started having to go every couple months because my vision was deteriorating more each month. My husband had to have eye surgeries because they did worse to his eyes. I've lost my vision. I have trouble even driving now, and I cannot make things focus. So I've lost that. And then I've developed this cough because they're attacking my heart now. And they're wanting to wipe out my heart. They want to try to nab my soul. And then last night, it was that thing. That thing is able to be in this house. It's able to throw objects around. It's able to open and slam doors. But it's at the school next door. I film it at the school next door. It's especially on this street because they say my house is a parallel universe, and it is like heaven and hell. And I'm here because I've been here through all of these litters of wildlife, kittens. I've been here through my husband planting all these trees from a stub. All of this has grown up around me in 30 years, and was like a habitat to these animals. I've gotten where anytime I get across my bridge, all the birds sing to me. They all know me. When I'm here, it's not just home with God. It's home with all of nature within my heart and so meshed with God. It's not just driving into a subdivision. And I went to the Caribbean just for my husband. First time, they wouldn't let me leave. They were so cruel. They wanted to torture me. And I even never let me go out of town with my husband to even go to Cincinnati. When I was in Cincinnati, they sent me pictures, said we're the mob in my dad's front yard. And they sent me pictures of my creek and say, hey, we're going to kill you and we're going to make this pond our pond. They would do stuff like that. They're that ruthless. I never knew that when somebody called me from New York, I didn't even know that said he was from this John Saul website, said I had a gift. His dad was a famous psychiatrist, said you got a gift like the Ghost Whisperer. I didn't know what it was. I never watched these. He sent me videos and said, you got to watch this. This is a gift. I wouldn't listen. And then this other guy on Windy Hill from New York might be linked. And then these cars are always at that one house. I know some nights I torture, but if the cars are missing, I wasn't tortured next to Windstream. And then I see faces in the concrete there, and I realize they really are trapping souls. And then after they murdered my little dog, I look across the street where they were putting all these sticks and stuff in a field. You can see her little face in the clouds. and then you can see this evil force. And the day I bought her a little coffin to be buried, when it was delivered from when it was delivered from Amazon, the day the truck came was the day that I saw her face. And it just goes to show our souls are now linked to Amazon, Google, every corporations with 666. They're somehow linking us to a whole database that is hell, that is the system through all this grid that they've made, opening portals in space. But I'll get back to what it was in my dad's house besides just videos. There was a DVD of Stargate, and they are constantly leaving that. And they came here and left Predator, said the Predator's here. And they said, in my basement's an opening to hell. So I wanted to do something else on the side besides write anymore. I'm a writer. So I said, I'm going to sell some Avon because it takes me back to the past. When high school, I sold Avon and I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I get a Peddler's Mart booth at over here at this Peddler's Mall, and I go and buy all these $100 worth of baskets and little knickknacks for Christmas with little mugs and little knits with Christmas. I love Christmas. And I put these Avon baskets for Christmas, and I put about $500 worth of merchandise. Well, they stole it, but they left in the place, not all the merchandise, in its place. They left a snow globe and said, for John Saw and Disney, you're in a snow globe and we're going to sacrifice you. You're a beauty and the beast wants you. They left that. They left the wicker basket and then tried to get my dad killed in a fire the next day in his home, knocking him out. And then, they said that represented the Wicker Man. And then they left not Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. They left something else. The movie Black and White. They left Dark Knight. The movie Dark Knight to symbolize Dark Knight's doing this. I left that movie in place in my merchandise. All symbolic things. They left a Nazi train. It was like a McDonald's train set, but it was a giant set.
It had polar bears on it
There's a
and
great
elves.
big old box. I filmed it, and it had polar bears, just like the polar bear stamp they'd given me after I got a house in Vegas. They didn't let me live in. Every time I went out there 5 times, they busted it up. I had a polar bear stamp sent to me asking me to sell the house to them. They did not want me to have a place to ever run to. A refuge. I even got a used RV. I got out of my house and went to a campsite, and they would send skulls after me.
I don't know if he has any linkage to it.
And I would be
He's married
tortured
to
with
Russian.
weapons I couldn't see.
He sent me an invite to Billionaires Elite. He could be a nice guy for all I know, but there's
that
just some sort of
it's awful every day to fight touch and go for my life. And I know I'm dying. I know what's killing me. I know it's neighbors and the government by something they're empowering that is going to devour the whole human race, because they're opening these portals, and my house has portals, and they want my land because it is the only place they've ever discovered. I call the Holy Grail, this parallel universe, and I've got entities coming and going here every day, and they're stealing souls, they're murdering people. They're damning people.
They're murdering me slowly.
But there's angels here too.
Experiments.
I photographed
them.
They
found EMF radiation.
And I just want to say that
EMF radiation.
If somebody doesn't figure a place of refuge to get me and my family out of here, or stop all this for the whole human race and get rid of all these towers and openings in space and Star Wars things and
other
evil
cities, train stations,
vehicles, and all these predators that have been trained to hunt their own human race with painted up cars with skulls on them and deer antlers and
they left deer skins
some
into my
hunters have
street
those
at
places.
the
A lot of
old
these
little
hunters
flock.
are just hunting
And
humans.
somebody said
they came here and left skin deers on this road. They've come here and murdered my cats. These people are with Satan. And some of the vehicles that follow me have Star Wars. They have 666 on the plate. They're black SUVs. They're all in the dark side.
Plates say I.
They don't just have Star Wars. They have Phantom of the Opera.
A vehicle following
like
with the Phantom of the Opera sticker on
they
it.
They have some are painted up like sharks.
Church at the end of my street.
Some have Phoenix on them.
leave this
You know,
stuff.
if people
child
don't
died
stop
in-
this, they're doomed.
the
I mean, they come in
baptism,
my Creep Skull
fountain.
shirts and Nightmare Before Christmas.
And I don't know
on-
if Little
on wearing
Flock
them.
now still
couldn't get
wants
them out of
it,
my
but the
creek.
guy that owns that building
And,
down there now, that used to be Little Flock, is the one that
If
gave
you
me the
don't
information.
try to save mankind, you're all doomed. And if you don't get rid of all these weapons, you're doomed. These handheld things that look like phone, they're zapping people and putting them in other dimensions. Like they're
They're
now
attacking me
crossing
with
over
demons
dimensions.
when they
They're
hold
like
that up.
opening, even on these buildings
It's
now,
like
with all the
opening
mirrors
a
and the
portal or
triangles
something,
downtown
because you
and
can see
East End.
demons all over these
You
people.
go in there and it's like stepping in a Stephen
it
King
takes my
movie.
breath and makes me dizzy.
That Shining, the hallways and stuff, they look unnatural. It looks like there's an optical illusion. And when you take pictures now, things are bouncing around, or people are all fuzzy and black, taken over like with demons. It's like something has totally invaded them. And if you don't look in your heart and start noticing what's around you, you're doomed.